Hello, and welcome to another edition of the Voices and Stories podcast with me, your host, Kafuki Jada. If you're watching us for the very first time, we hope that you stay around and watch this episode to the very end. We also hope that you engage with our content, like, subscribe, and comment. If this is a second time or a third time for you to join us on the Voices and Stories podcast, we hope that you enjoy today's discussion, as it is a very special discussion with a very special person to me. And today's guest, he's an educationist, he's a journalist, and he's also a community activist. Well, I'm going to turn the mic to him to also do an introduction and maybe tell us who he is. He is called Ustaz Henry Jada. Ustaz Henry, you're welcome.
Thank you, Kapoe. Of course, as you have already hinted at, I'm Henry Jada, the son of Andrea Mwedi, an educationist. Actually, I followed in his footsteps. Largely, he actually guided most of my life, really. So when I started life, I started, of course, first of all, as a timekeeper in between. Before I went for university studies, I was a timekeeper, I was a bookkeeper, I was a storekeeper, all those kind of things.
Okay.
But when I felt challenged and I went to study at the University of Alexandria in Egypt, I graduated in the field of English language and literature, very far away from my second appetite, which became media, actually. So I came out of there. I automatically started working for Nile Mirror newspaper. At that time, that was in 1985, 86 actually. And then I continued. But of course, with the difficulties in this country, that country at that time, media became a very difficult job. And good enough, I already had a foot in the educational world. I was teaching at East Bank Secondary School, a displaced school, because of the war situations in the East Bank of the Nile. And so we were volunteering, really. And then after a while, the University of Juba recognized some of this whatever they saw in me, then they said, you come, teach English here. And actually, I really must be thankful to Professor Tabalo Leong. He was the one really who dragged me into higher education. So I started as a part-timer, and somehow it stuck. And I was given an offer at the same time from the University of Juba and then the University of Khartoum. And I took one of the University of Khartoum, where I got stuck for 17 years teaching. That was basically because I could not practice media effectively. Because actually all independent media was closed down during Omar Bashir's first years. But when he opened, then I started also doing part-time journalism while teaching. And then eventually, of course, then peace came and I wanted to come back home. And I was lucky to get an offer from the U.S. Embassy, doing both things, actually, education and media. In public affairs, where I also served for 15 years. And then now I can say, I should really say now I'm retired. But of course, you never know, you can be called back from retirement. Also, in terms of the other part of community activism, yes. Of course, you have to give back to the community. There is no way that the community offers protection to you, services, other things, you feel very secure. And then you don't give back. Whether, in my case, of course, cultural activities and other ways in which I could serve the community effectively. Yeah.
You mentioned a number of things that actually of interest. First, I must first of all say that I'm very, should I say, proud or congratulate you for the fact that you really stay for long in institutions. I mean, 17 years at the University of Khartoum, and also how many years at the US Embassy? 15. So 17 years and 15 years. So when you join institutions, you really have that, you stay for long there in that institution, which is really a good thing, which is different from today's times. I think things are a little bit different and harder. Also, you mentioned about media in the 90s. The space was shrinking then, and we're looking at the repressive media landscape now. Like, has it always been like that for media? Has the media always been a challenge? Because you talked about independent media at that time being closed down when Sudan was still one, I believe. Sudan was still one at the time, and the independent media was closed down. So what are your thoughts about that when you just look at the media generally then and now in comparison?
Of course, now the media landscape is slightly, unfortunately, not what we had hoped it would be. And the reasons, of course, nobody really knows, because at this moment in time, everybody now understands that the value of media. Nobody, if I can quote one person who, the military intelligence person here in South Sudan, I forget his name now, but he said, but now really, people, if we don't get the information that media gives to us, then how are we going to get it? Yes, they have their own ways, but the open sources which are there, they have to know also. So it's very unfortunate that certain elements in government probably don't understand that media is actually the best friend to, first of all, the government, because then you get well-informed views, well-researched, well-edited, everything perfectly okay. All you have to do now is consume it properly. But not everybody first understands that. And very unfortunately, sometimes we get shocked. So-and-so is just picked up, beaten up, tortured, whatever. What for? He is getting information which is valuable even to you yourself. The one torturing him, whatever, that information is very important to you. It's how you consume it. That's the question. I remember one time when very unfortunately, okay, sometimes even for us in media also, we I admit that we sometimes go a little bit a step too far, and then we forget also that we have our own values, professional ethics to keep to. So that really is also there, and is a problem also in South Sudan, because many of us join the trade. Like as I said, even I was not trained as a journalist. So we pick it up, and then without really that amount of knowing the ethics of the conduct really that you need in that trade, also has put us in effects in a way. But otherwise, compared to Sudan as I knew it at that time, of course, Umar Bashir was a draconian. He went too far. He shut down completely independent media. And then when he opened up, first of all, sports only. You only cover sports, nothing. So we were left really with nothing to do. And I was lucky that I already had a foot in education, so we continued. But that type of repression, I really don't think we have it here in South Sudan. That was really extreme, and it took Sudan back, really backwards a lot, because it was complete obliteration of information. So people were just like that.
Yeah. No platforms that give people
the only thing,
information.
Radio Omdurman, TV Omdurman, Radio Juba, but no, this is the official story. What about the rest of the stories out there? So in a way now we do have independent media in South Sudan, and that's something to appreciate. The restriction, regrettable, but at least it is there.
Are you saying that the media now is progressive? There's a lot of progress from back then to now. There's progress in terms of media.
Absolutely. Because if you look, we even have community radios now. Something which was unthinkable, I think, in Sudan at that time. I don't know now how it is, but you can look at the number of community radios, which means people are talking to each other. They are talking to themselves. All you need is, I think you go to Media Authority, you go to National Communication Authority, you're given your licenses, then, the other players come in. And then maybe it becomes a little bit difficult. But otherwise, the space is really there. Instead, what I see as a big problem compared to the Sudan at that time is a civil society space. It's really, really, really completely shrunk. You'll never find, in civil society means, and that's why when we talk of the agreement, people think of it as the politicians who signed. But civil society was there. Youth and women were there, special interest groups. So now what we are seeing is that the only players, the only actors are the politicians. Very strange. Where are the others?
Involvement of community members and civil society.
Civil society particularly. Because when, for example, RGMEC meets, in that composition, the constitution of RGMEC, there are youth, there are women, there is civil society, there are these political leaders. But where are these other voices? What we hear is, conflict. But let me not jump ahead. Yeah.
Yes. We were still talking about civil society because you wanted to explain what civil society is. You mentioned that civil society, what is the role of civil society and how was civil society involved in the revitalized peace agreement, according to you?
Civil society, of course, means the people associating freely on their own. They form whatever NGOs or community associations or whatever. And then they voice, because they say something when there are big issues on the table. And they are not like a fourth estate like media. No, they are completely, media sometimes can be, we will say it's also part of civil society, but media is a totally, completely different situation. So these are the people who really on behalf of the people. Media, we only say what the people are saying. You see? We don't create content on our own. We don't. Not like civil society leaders do. So the role of civil society is in any community is very significant. Because they're very close to the people. They say what the people think, what they feel, what they want. You see? For us, media people, we just say, this is what people say, this is what they want, but we don't create the content ourselves. So civil society as such is really very, very, very important.
How important is it to continue to have independent media in South Sudan? We have independent radio stations, we have independent media in South Sudan. How important is it to support these medias? And from your perspective, as somebody who's been in the education sector, you've also been in the media sector, how best do you see that independent media can be supported?
Yeah, of course, this is a tricky one because you take, for example, newspapers, print media. How can it really survive given the cost of the paper itself, the whatever resources you have to put in to produce a single is almost unsustainable. And then radios. So who is going to put that money there? Of course, first of all, the best source is advertisements. And that will keep them independent. In most countries, also the government supports, even if indirectly, through also advertisements. They really make sure that the money goes. I mean, government advertises contracts, big, whatever, and it pays to some extent. We know that here we have been having our good friends, they have been supporting media here in South Sudan, but how sustainable that can be also is another thing. So the picture is getting uglier and uglier in terms of support for media, particularly print. Print, of course, the future is very, very, very dark. The other media, okay, for how long will the funding continue to come in from partners, friends? That's also another question. Because there's always donor fatigue. There's lots of... so the best is really self-reliance, and how that happens. In my view, the community radios may survive longer than the other radio station. So the issue of support to media, I think also we should mention the loss of assistance from USAID. USAID was really the one supporting media, carpet to carpet in South Sudan. And it's a pity that that support is already gone. And we're just trying to see how that vacuum will be filled. I have not been in the last the last year, I've not been in touch with most of these media houses, but I'm sure they must be feeling the pinch. Must be a little bit hurting, because there's no media outlet which did not benefit directly or indirectly from USAID support. Through, of course, that's why I'm saying sometimes people don't feel it, because it comes through second partners. And then you don't know that it is USAID, you see. So we really lost a great support from a very reliable source. But more than that, the bigger question now in South Sudan should be, with TV now becoming probably the thing of the day, where are we? We only have the government TV, EBC, which is terrestrial, and SSBC, which is supposed to be a public broadcaster, and independent TVs. And yet the reach of TV is likely to grow, because now with satellite everything, it's just that maybe people cannot afford the set itself. But it will not take long before people can afford the sets, because now really almost the whole world is going TV, really. And we are not nowhere near that. So given our situations, it becomes even almost unlikely that in the next few years we will access TV as much as the population would want.
Okay. Let's talk about some of the observations that you take, because I know as a journalist, you said for the past 1 year you have not really been actively maybe writing or being in the media space, but you, of course, as an educationist or as a person who follows what's happening, you might have done some notes or collection or just your idea on South Sudan situation at the moment, how we are maybe economically, politically, or socially. What are some of the observations that you really feel like some things people should watch out for, or just be keen to it?
Of course, the number one thing that drives everything on earth, economics, of course, the economy. That's what sets everything in motion. And with our kind of downturn, I was reading a very brilliant article actually by a Columbia University graduate. Of course, that's one of the top 5 universities in the US. Albino Nafen. He was looking at the monetary part only. And his analysis is very brilliant. He is looking at the flow of money itself. Money as liquid stuff, not as goods and services. So, he's saying, why don't we first of all print larger denominations, notes? Of course, the also has its own risks. But of course, the larger part of it is goods and services in South Sudan. Are they really flowing as we want it? And who are the people? Basically foreigners. We are not really, as South Sudanese, capturing our own market. And that is driving poverty. And you will see, this is a record number of beggars in the streets, unless you don't walk the streets of South Sudan. So that economic situation is going to drive politics at the end of the day. Because this hungry person, what do you think he's going to do? He will ask questions. Why? And then that will create political instability automatically. And instability, insecurity, lots of things now come into play. And it's very hard to see how we can fix anything unless we fix the economy. That's number one, of course. Unless we fix the economic situation of this country, there will be no political stability at all. And until we control our own economy, you're just wasting your time. Because there will be flight of capital. All the money is going out. You leave alone our own behavior. We don't trust ourselves to keep our money in our country. You don't want to build a good house. You want to buy a house in Washington. And these foreigners, you think they're going to keep their money here? Then we really are in a fix. The agreement actually also basically touched on even issues like land. What kind of land policies do you really have? Because you cannot attract proper investment, foreign investment, proper one. I'm not these small things. Unless you have a good land policy. Then you'll have the big, let's say, the Hilton hotels. They will be here. Once the land policy is good, security is there, they will be here. So we have a long journey. We have a long journey, but first, fix the economy. Number one. Then there can be hope of something good coming out of this country. Otherwise, as long as the economy is what it is, no.
When you talk about having good land policy, could you elaborate on that more? What does it mean to have good land policy?
You see, here, we say land belongs to the community. Now, an investor hearing this, is he going to talk to the community where he's going to build his hotel or whatever investment he wants to make? They would, of course, prefer to deal with the government. So that land policy should be fixed. So we know that the community must, at a certain point, this is my thinking. It has just nothing to do with what is the actual solution. The actual solution belongs to the people of South Sudan, of course. But say a community gives land to the government, investors will be more confident. You see? The other way around also, communities are unwilling to give land to the government because they are not even sure that it will be given to investors. You see? So we are in a delicate fix on land policy, and I don't see any big investor really risking their money. You don't know what is the land tenure. Is it they're going to keep it for 100 years? How many years? Land is capital, so it's very for anybody to invest anywhere. Land is capital. The human resource. The people, for example, if I'm going to build let's say a factory which is going to manufacture oranges, are there people there who can, because you want cheap labor. So again, human capital, is it there? Are we really training people? Are we educating people? Are they really? Lots. There are big questions. And first of all, where are the people living? The majority are not in the country. So, and those even who are not in the country, even if they come back, they will have to retrain because I don't think they're doing useful things out there in their line or whatever. Very few of them are really. So we have a problem of land as a capital, human resources as a capital. We really have serious problems there.
When we talk about land policies, because how can we ensure, for example, that community and government comes to terms? Because that seems to be the bigger issue. Land belongs to community and community is unwilling or is having doubts. And what can be done to harmonize that relationship and ensure, like, what needs to be done between the community and the government to reach an agreement that will benefit the community, benefit the government, and benefit the people of South Sudan, and also attract investors? I know this is, you may not have a direct answer for that, but just an analysis of your thoughts.
Of course, the most obvious answer would be dialogue. I mean, the government should really talk to the communities and build the confidence of the communities in what it wants to, even first of all, government itself, what it wants to do. Because if you notice, majorly the land grabbings, the whatnot, government is unable even to stop that. First of all, to build the confidence of the community, you should be able to fight land grabbing to begin with. Begin to build confidence of the people in you. And then, okay, now I'm bringing a school. Give me land, I'm building a school here. And then you will see the school go up. They say, oh, no, this is good. Yeah. But the way it is now, and that type of mistrust is not going to help us in the short and long run.
Yeah, I mean, this is one of the things you notice in the peace agreement. What else do you feel like people have missed out when it comes to the peace agreement? Because the peace agreement is comprehensive and it's consistent of so many provisions. Like, it has a lot of stipulations inside there, so many things within the peace agreement. So people are focused, of course, on a lot. Like right now, the conversation is on election. It's on a lot of other things that can lead to election happening. But there are also other things that people could have missed out within the peace agreement. What do you feel like has been left out, or something that people have not talked about?
Almost the whole agreement actually has been left out. Because you see, now people are focusing on the alpha and the omega. The alpha formed the government, and they were very quick to divvy up positions. This belongs to this party, this belongs to, very quickly, no problem there. That is done. Now, constitution making. It is interesting. And they signed. Census. And they signed. Now they're talking of elections, the end, the omega of the whole thing. Without all these things. Now, what do you expect is going to happen? If first of all, where are the people? I mean, do we really know who is voting? And yes, I know we were using the 2008 census. Fine. But did we even accept that census in the first place? The results, the outcome of that census, I think South Sudan almost practically threw it out.
The census of which year?
2008.
2008, yeah. Okay.
South Sudan really did not recognize it. And now we're using it for drawing up the constituencies. And so it's really difficult to understand how you sign such a beautiful agreement and then you don't implement it except the beginning and the end of it. What is this? Because if you look, actually, that's why I was saying the agreement is practically is really not implemented, because I would even quote the architects of the Addis Ababa Agreement, Canon Bajeska. Canon Bajeska, he was the Secretary General of the All Africa Conference of Churches. And they were the ones who spearheaded the Addis Ababa Agreement. We met at the last OAU meeting in Khartoum. And just in the corridors, we were chatting. Of course, he said, "Oh, now I remembered, I used to be active, of course, in the All Africa Conference of Churches." Then he said, "You people, you're very unlucky." I said, "What?" You wrote a very good agreement, a Addis Ababa agreement. And now it is etherized on the table. So the operation successful, but the patient dies.
The operation was successful, but the patient died.
And this is exactly what is happening now. Successful surgery, the patient dies. And Maggie, if you look at agreements as they come, like I would say, we are a covenanting people, Africans generally. If you look at WUNLID, the WUNLID agreement, which is also sponsored, I think, by Sudan Council of Churches, the new Sudan Council of Churches at that time, it brought peace between neighboring the Loanware and their neighbors. But it is now in danger of falling apart. You see? And I think of Abel Aller when he says, too many disagreements dishonor. And at that time we used to think, no, maybe with our cousins, maybe in Sudan now, yes, the dishonor agreements. But it has turned out that even we ourselves are dishonoring our own agreements. This was signed in 2015, revitalized in 2018. So what next do we want? We want to revive it, rejuvenate it. Do what? There's no shortage of arts. You can, and at the end of the day, you think of things like Tumaini. What Tumaini will always be an addendum to this agreement, I'm telling you. Because everything is here. What needs to be done is to implement it. Mm. The whole out groups, yes, they have a point. Certain issues were not thrashed out well. The issue of federalism, for example, is a great governance model. All over the world, America is federal, Russia is federal, Germany is federal. It is succeeding everywhere. But we have not, the agreement did not think it out clearly. And yes, the whole out groups have a point. But the issue again is, would we have been able to craft? Because this is almost really is like a Magna Carta, I'm telling you. So would we have been able to craft everything at one go in Khartoum? It is also unthinkable. So most of the other things, we would sort them out, of course, gradually, if we trust each other. And that's the biggest problem we have. Nobody trusts the other.
No trust. Okay, can we talk about now education? The role of education in all this, and also the importance of ensuring that schools are affordable to young people, to school-going children, the primary school. You've been in higher education before, but just generally when you look at the situation of education in South Sudan as of now, schools maybe in the villages or anywhere. As a former teacher, I know you've taught in universities, but you're also very keen on education from the basics. What can you say about education situation in South Sudan right now? How important is it for people to ensure that their children go to school, or how can education be made affordable for the common South Sudanese?
Oh yeah, of course, education is an investment, a long-term investment. So it's basically it consumes and doesn't seem to be producing anything, and it's very hard for other than government to find anybody investing in education. Yes, of course, education, health, these things need public-private partnership, certainly. Majority of schools now in South Sudan, I think, are private, particularly at the basic level of education. So government is abdicating its responsibilities, and nobody can fill in that gap. No foreign country is going to come and say, let me invest in the education of your people. No, it should not happen. So the responsibility basically is government, and then if it gets into a partnership with the private sector, there are people, of course, who may be willing to invest in education, and government will probably, let's say, provide the teachers. That will make it easier for them. I mean, they put their money in other things, maybe the structures, they build, whatever, but the teachers, they say subsidized salaries, something like that, can work, can bring down the cost of education and also lift the level, I mean, the numbers of people who get educated. Mm. So that's public-private partnership must be consolidated. Yeah. Now you see, the only other player is the church here in South Sudan. The only other player investing in education. But they can only build so many, 1, 2, 3 schools. That's it.
Mm. Yeah. Christian schools.
Yeah.
That we've seen it happen before. Could we talk about girl child education and the importance of putting girls to school? You are a father to 3 girls, and you've ensured all of them go to school. How important is it to educate girls, especially in the context of South Sudan?
Yeah, of course, education is education. It must be there for everybody anyway. According to your ability, yes, you get to where you get. But certainly, I would advantage girls' education in the sense that they are disadvantaged. Work at home, for example, will make it difficult for them to be achievers. So you have to take care of that. And when they get to school, also you have to worry about many things. They have their own special needs. I mean, you'll not be giving the same pocket money, in my view, to your daughter like to your boy. Because the daughter probably has more needs. And so we have to advantage that in many ways. And it's not a loss. Because at the end of the day, they get to whatever situations they get into, if they are able to raise their own families, they will raise them better, of course, with education. And generally, girls are becoming a better investment, actually, in terms of education, everywhere. So, but it's really important that they get the best education possible, really.
When you mean by the becoming the better investment, or what does that mean? That is compared to what?
Yeah, I mean, they return better. At the end of the day, if you look, girls tend to be more successful wherever they are, even if they don't really rise very high, because very soon they get married and then like in general, you will see that they return better on the investments that government or parents or whoever puts in them. Boys are becoming less and less a good investment. They tend to get lost most of the time. In the past, it was like that for girls. I mean, people would say, now, then they are not able to continue their education because they have become involved. But it's becoming less and less. You see really girls finishing the journey. More and more girls are finishing the journey, and they're doing very well.
All right, thank you so much for that. We're going to go for a very short break and we shall carry on. This is the Voices and Stories podcast.
Love makeup. Kafuki Cosmetics is here for you. Proudly South Sudanese-owned makeup brand, Kafuki Cosmetics is created for beauty lovers who want quality and confidence in every look. From soft glam to full glam, we have all your beauty essentials eyeshadows, mascaras, lip liners, foundations, brushes, and so much more. Order now through our social media page. DM Kafuki Cosmetics or Kafuki Jada social media pages, or send a message on +211 923 618 595 to place your order and have your favorite beauty products delivered to you.
Welcome back from that break. This is the Voices and Stories podcast, and let's welcome our guest, who happens to be Ustaz Henry Jada. He's with us here on the Voices and Stories podcast. Ustaz, you're welcome back from that break. Before we went on the break, of course, we touched on a number of things, and now we want to make it a little bit more personal, because this is also a podcast where we talk about our stories and things that we encountered. It's also very important because it will also be encouraging to someone out there who's listening to you. Can we talk about your health? Because I know in 2023, you encountered a very serious health issue, and you actually survived it. So could you share that with us?
Certainly. There's nothing to hide when it comes to like the kind of carcinomic situation I was in. That was cancer, and cancer is not something you keep under the table. You really must discuss it so that people also benefit from your experience. Yes, in 2022, really, I was diagnosed with carcinoma, and here in Juba. Great thanks to Dr. Salvador. He really, I would go to him and said, my situation is not getting better. And then he said, no, the only thing I can do for you now is to really check for cancer, because I think everything, the checks have turned up negative. So then immediately the results were clearly I was cancerous. And he was able to, of course, I had to undergo more and more tests. And then he was able to tell me exactly where the problem was. And he said, now nobody can help you in this country. So then I asked him, where do you think I should go? And he said, Cairo. But I found out my passport had expired and there was no way. So I had to go to Khartoum, because I could go there with just... Khartoum confirmed again. The same, it had already started to grow. And the original one, and then now it touched the liver and then the stomach. And so Khartoum confirmed, and they said they can have to undergo surgery. But then again, they were unable to determine the prognosis of the disease itself. How would it, what is the possibility that I would come out of that surgery even alive? They said they could not tell me. Once they open, they see, and they cannot help it, they'll just show up and say, you go home. So then the idea of going to India came. India confirmed exactly what Dr. Salvador saw, practically with his naked eyes. But then they confirmed now with more advanced technology, and they said, okay, possibility of success, 0. And then said, do you still want to go ahead with the surgery? They said, first of all, they said we cannot do the surgery at one go. So they'll first of all take the smaller ones. They will cut off half of my liver. Of course, liver is good; it will grow back. Then take out the sleeve of the stomach and resect it, and then I would come another time for the other surgery. Also probability 0.
Probability of surviving?
Yeah, 0. So the other one, they were encouraged because I survived the first surgery, a double surgery actually. Then the last one, they said, now, if we remove, because it was in the large intestine, so they said it's between two things. Either they cut out the whole of the large intestine, and then I would have to have an external toilet now. Or if they're able to succeed, which they said also the success probability was 0. If they are able to succeed, then I would have to be on medication for 5 years to prevent the recurrence. So, fortunately, that one was also successful. And sometimes you wonder, almost all those people went to do also consulting, and all of them have gone. But somehow, I'm still here. Anyhow, nobody knows why.
And how do you think about that time of your life? Because it must have been one of the most difficult things to deal with, dealing with cancer. How was it like for you emotionally, mentally? How did you take it in? And I also remember you did not share the news with us particularly until maybe the last stages. Maybe your mom knew, but I don't know, but we didn't know until sometime in the last stage.
No, there was nothing secret about it. I didn't really feel that there was... First of all, I didn't even want to go through all that. I said, this cancer is cancer. There's no possibility even in my head that things would succeed. It was not there. I was really a very unwilling goer even for all these
for treatment
things.
And
it even became worse when after I went for a review, after the second surgery, and I went for a review, That was when I really knew that things were really bad. The doctors and the nurses were the ones who came overjoyed when they saw the result. I said, no, that means this thing was below zero possibility even. Because how can doctors and nurses not be the ones who are excited and not I myself for surviving the whole thing?
Yes.
So I was not keeping anything from anybody. But I myself didn't really think it was worth the bother.
Yeah, but what made you willing to now go through the entire process? Because at first you thought this is something, it has come, it has happened, and then you got the will to just follow through with the medication.
Yeah, it was just, let me say, just a matter of things happening. First of all, I collapsed when I was getting out of the toilet at home.
I remember that. I was at work and I got a call.
And I said, no, people were more disturbed than I said, okay, no, all right, let's try. Let's go and see what will happen. But otherwise, if that accident had not happened, I don't think, because after all, this thing just takes your life like that.
Slowly.
So you don't even feel pain. There's no pain. So, but of course, now if it is disturbing other people, then I said, okay, let's at least try. Let's do something.
Yes.
Yeah.
And did you feel supported by us, by family?
Oh, everybody. Prayers, first of all. Everybody was praying. Material support was there. Moral support was there. Even in India, I was surprised. I thought the whole country was Hindu. It turned out that there were Christians there, Catholics come up. So before every operation, somebody will come and pray in the Roman Catholic tradition. So in a way, I felt supported all over. All over.
Yes. All right. I think that since we're talking about your health, and it was really a difficult time for us as a family. It was really, really difficult, but we thank God that everything worked out and you're able to restore your health. And this is truly something, we look at it as a miracle. Me personally, I look at it as a miracle, because to go double surgery and then to go for another surgery, it was really a lot. It's a serious thing, and I always thought it was a miracle from God and God's way of reminding us of His presence in our lives, because sometimes you can forget that God is there and He's with you, especially when you encounter difficult situations, but He will always remind you that He's there. So that to me was a miracle. I always take it like that. Another thing, as we come to the conclusion of this podcast, and we're going to give you a chance to relay your final message, and also maybe talk about your father's influence in your life, Andrea Modi, his influence into your life and how he shaped your view with education, and also this also came back down to the third generation, to us, and which is also very important. I wanted to just maybe talk about how grateful I am for your methods of parenting. I actually thought that your parenting style was really the best, and I'm hoping in the future, if I also become a parent, not very far inshallah, if I have my own family, I would adopt your parenting style, which is very, should I call it democratic? Which is very gentle. It's not a harsh type of method of discipline like majority of South Sudanese, how they discipline their children. I always found your ways of discipline very soft, very gentle, but yet very firm. Your messages were very clear, and it was always like with your type of parenting, there was always clarity. Like I found it to be extremely clear when I talk to you about anything, any topic with challenges that I'm facing, or I just open up to you about anything. You always seem to just give me clarity, and you're very straightforward. And, I always thought that was really amazing. What really shaped your parenting style, and why did you choose to parent us? Because majority of South Sudanese parents don't parent their children in a gentle manner. The tools is usually very harsh, met with punishments, very harsh punishments. Sometimes even words that parents use when they're speaking to their children can be very harsh. But you never really use that. You're never a person who would be very harsh to us. You're very gentle, as I mentioned. And what shaped that for you? Did you intentionally choose to parent your children like that, or it's just your personality? How did it happen?
Well, actually, apart from other things that I'll say, but when I was a student at the university, we were asked to write an essay on anything. And then I chose to write that I would like to be a good husband, a good father. And the teacher brought the essay and read it to the whole class. And in a way that I had already put myself in a fix. Sorry, I had already put myself in a fix. You have to be a good husband, a good father. So that, in a way, dictated my direction in life. But more than that, of course.
When he read out the essay to the class,
No, it is a teacher who read it.
Yeah, when he read it out, what tone was he using? Was he impressed? What was the tone?
He said he had never read an essay like that in his life. So, but then more than that is also the way I was brought up. Ultimately, that influences permanently, of course. My father was no different from mine. He hit me only once in his life. But I actually, when I reflect on it, I thought he was angry because I stole his packer pen. You know? And then, of course, I was going to do, because I liked the weight of it. I was doing homework. And of course, my room was open all the time. So he came and found the packer pen there. Then he called me. He said, "Where is my packer pen?" I said, "I know where it is." He said, "You come here." What are you talking? And he hit me with a ruler. Now, but when I came to think about it, the problem was not that I stole his packer pen, really, because he eventually bought me my own now packer pen. But lying. I should have told him that, yes, I have it. Instead of saying, I think I know where it is.
Okay.
So, lies. That was the first, he hit me because I lied, not because I stole his pen. After all, it was there on the desk, and he could access it anytime. So I think that was, he also shaped my life a lot. There's no need, strict disciplinarian, whatever. Yes, it's good. It's good. It can produce good results. But also you have to be very careful how you use it. Because you study your own children, know them. And it pays more often than not to use the carrot more than the rod. I tell you. In raising any children, generally the carrot is the best thing. Say, you do this, is nice, oh good. Now you will have what you want.
You're right about your father not being very different, because he was involved in our life for the majority part. I think since I was young until I grew up, he was also very involved. He's actually really, really involved. He's not a person who sees you doing something and will just leave it like that. He's an involved person. He pays attention and he always advises. So I remember a lot of things that he advised me on, a lot of topics we would talk about with him, and he would always ask me about my goals, my plans. So it was really a very, I would say, healthy environment to grow in and encouraging. You know, given sometimes when you're growing up, there's a lot that can happen, but having that confidence and that family bond and that togetherness can really help someone understand themselves better and also know the direction that they want to go in. So he was very supportive, of course, not forgetting Maria, she was also very supportive. Mm-hmm. Yeah, she has shaped my sense of fashion so much. We were both into that. We're reaching towards the end of the podcast. We'll, of course, we usually like to give our guests this chance. Maybe there's something we talked about, or just final message, or just wrappings. We will give you the opportunity. But since I mentioned at the start that this is a very special episode for me, and I'm really happy that you joined me for the Voices and Stories podcast, of course, as your capacity as somebody who's been in education, journalism, from your previous works, but also as somebody who's also influential in my life. So I really wanted to know from you, what were some of the highlights of you raising me? What were some of the things maybe when I was growing up, when you're raising me, that you really wanted to instill? And do you feel like I've actually accomplished my goals? Because I know every parent has, with every child, of course, with me, with my elder brother, with my sisters, you might have those moments. But I'm just asking about me particularly, maybe my siblings too. Yeah. Is there any moments?
No, in many ways, you people have exceeded my expectations, because first of all, the challenges that you people went through, all of us, of course, the most formative thing, of course, is education. And I really, really wanted people educated well. And in your case, I was worried. Because when you people had to move from Uganda, and from Khartoum to Uganda, you were all in danger of losing, of course, a year or two, or whatever, and I had to discuss this with your teachers. And of course, as a teacher myself, they respected my opinion. You went to secondary school, and that's what I wanted. You continued normally with your education, and I'm grateful that you were able to make it, despite the change in the system of education, whatever. And of course, for this, the same. I was able to argue with her case. The only person I arrested was Dokia. And that was simply because she was still in primary one. And I didn't want her to go to primary two straight away. After all, it was just a question of a few months. She also made it through eventually. And of course, I was happy when you made up for the lost time. We're going to Kenya and really struggling with another system of education. So that makes us very proud. And that's what we basically wanted from you before, really, education. So you are independent. You will become a person of means. I mean, you don't have to again worry, even if you raise a family of your own. You'll always you'll be a person of independent means. So that's the success I want. You see, all of you.
Thank you so much, Ustaz Henry, for joining us for this edition of the podcast of Voices and Stories. And thank you too for listening up to the end. It's a very special edition, as I said. And thank you so much for your time.
Thank you for having me too on the show.